collaboration. It's one of those things we all know is important. After all, two minds are better than one. But with today's technology, collaboration is evolving faster than ever, like a rocket gaining momentum. Now, what if we could take it even further? What if we had some super-powered jet fuel ready to propel collaboration to new heights? That's exactly what we're diving into today. What some may consider the fuel behind next-level IT collaboration, AI and hybrid IT structures. Joining us are two incredible experts who know this space inside and out. Sandi Gardner, CIO at Promega, who's leading the charge in using AI to empower her team. And Emily Martin, Executive Vice President of Hybrid Platforms at Converge, who is helping organizations unlock collaboration through hybrid IT solutions. Let's dive in. Well, it's really great to be with the two of you today. Sandi, could you start off by introducing yourself and sharing a little bit about your current role at Promega? Especially, I'd love to hear what excites you most about leading technology and innovation there.
Absolutely. I'm Sandi Gardner. I'm the Chief Information Officer here at Promega Corporation. Our company exists kind of at that intersection of science, business, and human well-being. Our mission is to advance scientific discovery through innovative life science tools, support research that tackles global health and environmental challenges, and empowers our people to make meaningful contributions. As the CIO, I have the privilege of leading the internal technology strategy that enables this mission. So whether that's through AI, excellence in technology services, or solid and secure infrastructure that enhances how our scientists, our manufacturers, operations folks, and business teams work together. What excites me the most about the opportunity is to bring emerging technologies into a space where they can truly make a difference, improving efficiency so teams can focus on innovation and providing insights where none existed before.
That's amazing. Yeah, as a chemist, right, in my previous life, I'm very well familiar with Promega and its products and how they've been on the forefront of innovation for years. As you just shared, your team is heavily invested in integrating AI into your work. Can you give us a glimpse into how AI is currently affecting you and your clients?
Just like you said, it's transforming how we approach both internal processes and the services that we deliver. At Promega, we see AI as more than just a tool. It's a transformative force almost that's helping us reimagine how we innovate, operate, and serve our customers. AI is deeply integrated into our R&D, into our manufacturing, our customer engagement strategies. And importantly, what we're trying to do is to build this with a strong ethical framework that supports but not replaces our human ingenuity and decision-making. So that's a really important component we're trying to emphasize. Internally, tools like generative AI and Copilot help us streamline everything from basic communications to product releases and even our corporate strategy. For our clients in biotech, pharma, forensics, clinical diagnostics, AI is already making profound differences. It helps them analyze that massive data set that they're all working with. Faster, it refines and personalizes medicine strategies and enhances our producibility in research. Looking ahead, our focus is on empowering our people with AI literacy. So really making sure people have a good understanding of what it is and how it can help. We're rolling out our emerging technology office hours across the organization to ensure that all Promega teams are leveraging AI ethically and effectively. At the end of the day, AI is a partner in our mission to advance scientific discovery, to serve our customers, and to really make a meaningful impact in the world.
Indeed, I couldn't agree more. Speaking of partners, Emily, we work together often here at Converge, but I'd love for you to introduce yourself to everybody on the podcast. What is your role at Converge, and can you share a little bit about what drives your passion for technology and supporting organizations?
For sure. Thanks so much, Jonathan. And Sandi, that was a great opener. I'm a little intimidated by how far along the journey your organization is and your team is. It's really great to hear. As Jonathan said, my name is Emily Martin. I'm the Executive Vice President of Hybrid Platforms for Converge Technology Solutions. As part of that role, I have the privilege of leading a team of people that are putting together the go-to-market strategy around how we leverage infrastructure technologies, digital workplace technologies to help customers create a foundation to build innovation on top of. It is an incredible role, and there are so many things that excite me about it. But really, I think what you talked about, Sandy, sort of is a great representation of it. Ultimately, our customers are using this technology to help them solve problems and help them support their employees to be as impactful as they possibly can be and to deliver great outcomes to their consumers. And the other thing that's exciting about it is we get to work with customers that are in the healthcare space, in bioscience, in public service, municipalities and education customers, and of course, great enterprise customers as well that are innovating themselves and bringing new products to market. So I think that is what excites me, the broad range of applicability of what we do and how it can help all of our customers really deliver on the promise of their business models.
Emily, in your role, you focus on, like as you said, helping organizations leverage infrastructure, cloud, hybrid IT. What would it be?
There's so many things. I think first and foremost, it's really valuable to understand your baseline, where you're at, and be ready to be agile and adjust, because the pace of innovation that we've seen has only increased. And our ability to be able to respond and react and create a collaborative environment where lots of teams of people can come together. Sandy, I loved what you shared about having office hours and having people come together to talk about how they're using AI, talk about being responsible with it, talk about the impacts of it, and how they're managing and navigating that change. I think being able to create collaboration across an organization is really critical to success in that space. And I think it's the one piece of advice. Understand your teams, understand each other within your ecosystem, because we all, when you work in a big organization, we all create little teams within the big team. And if you can kind of come together and help a joint understanding of what's available within your organization, I think you're able to make better decisions and support each other through transformation and innovation.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. The technology is extremely powerful, but the way people use it is transformative, but it's not always the same, right? And so having that collaboration, that communication between different parts of the organization, different people, democratizing lessons learned is the way forward in terms of getting the most out of it. I live and breathe this every day, but in some ways I'm intimidated on and question what's the right way to use it. And I get help from other people that don't even know what this is, even though I know how it works, right? We've been seeing the AI as a major driver of change across many different industries. Sandy, how has it transformed collaborations within teams at Promega and with your clients? Are there any specific examples that stand out?
Sure. So, AI has fundamentally enhanced how we collaborate by breaking down communication barriers, just as you were saying, where you can learn from someone who has, shared platforms here at Promega for innovation and insights. So, for example, we have made great utility of custom GPTs. So we use them quite a bit, and they're used across our enterprise. We have GPTs that help from very basic things. When you start here, there's a set of GPTs that are rolled out to you. Some of them do basic understanding of scientific jargon, scientific acronyms. We have one that helps with that. To department-specific GPTs that are used around a common need. So for example, in IT, we have a GPT that helps standardize our communications to the enterprise. So if you're doing change control, if you're doing work around a major incident, all of that information gets fed into a GPT, and it helps produce the communications that are easy to understand, look the same every time, and it just makes it easier for our customers to understand what's going on. And these tools aren't just increasing our speed, they're really fostering that culture of collaboration so that we're all working together. And that's super critical to build that space for more innovation.
Jonathan, I don't know if you're okay with me jumping in on that, Sandy, but I love what you're talking about there, because having that kind of approach where you have GPTs by areas of your business really does help create a common language. Because I think it's one of the things that anybody that's listening to this that's part of a large organization, over time, our human brains want to create our own language, create our own culture within our team that sits within the broader culture. And what ends up happening is, we name things and we create acronyms for things. And in that process, it can become confusing for somebody who's on the outside trying to understand what you're doing because you start to speak your own language. Your IT team, I'm sure, has acronyms that they've built to respond to incidents and to figure out what their next best steps are. And when you leverage these kinds of tools, it can really help create common understanding using the English language or whatever language your organization works in to make sure that it's consistent when you're communicating with a department outside of the IT team, for example. I love that.
And your point about language is something we take advantage of as well. Being a global company, I can translate all those communications into any language I need.
Science is just laden with abbreviations and shorthands for things. So I appreciate you sharing. Has your organization used Copilot, or are there any other tools that you've used as well?
Yeah, we do use Copilot quite a bit. Everyone in our organization has a Copilot license. If you want to dive into Copilot Studio, that's free to you to explore as well. We've had some folks do that. A lot of that work is centered around building custom Copilots that will interrogate SharePoint or OneDrive documents that are specific to a department. What I was really excited to see, though, it wasn't as much on the Copilot side, but on the GPT side, is the building and owning and joint utilization of a GPT to do our corporate strategy this year, which was awesome to me. I've never been at an organization that has used AI to help with strategy work. Just having come through our executive retreat where we used that and talked through our focuses for the next year, that was an amazing experience. It was initially built by our CEO and expanded on by our executive team, and it's available to our whole of Promega now. So we make it available to everyone to go in and interrogate and find out what's the most important things for Promega in 2025. We'll be using that then on our IT team to help set our IT strategy and to help set our IT departmental goals for 2025. So really amazing, unbelievably helpful in pulling together that information.
What I heard you say was that you used generative AI to help develop a strategy, right? Now, I'm sure that it wasn't just like, write me my strategy and there's the answer, right? I'm guessing it was more along the lines of putting out, the team coming up with the goals or the focuses and timelines, and then taking that data and leveraging generative AI to better tease that out and work through it.
And also, it's the process of building a generative AI tool like a GPT that you will use collectively includes gathering information that is important. So feeding it all of our financials, feeding it sales information, feeding it information coming out of our manufacturing area, and then also providing it the context around where the company has been and where the company desires to go. A lot of that comes from our really innovative CEO, but also a lot of us fed information into that tool. I worked to feed it information around cybersecurity maturity throughout the next year. And it just does a great job of taking all of that diverse information and then helping relay that back out in a way that is more meaningful around prioritization, around capabilities that you would need to fulfill those priorities. It was really the exercise of building it is almost as important as the exercise of using it.
What you just shared, and kudos to your team and to your CEO and to you for taking that kind of approach. Because I think one of the things that we've had a challenge with industry-wide, and I think, even just outside of the technology industry, is really gaining an understanding based on a holistic view of a business. So often, because we're relying on humans to communicate what's going on and they're part of the business, an individual's ability or a team's ability to create a compelling view of that is what sort of informs what we take from it and how it becomes a part of a strategy. When you take the approach of building a GPT for it, you're feeding it information and it sort of democratizes it a little bit so that somebody who is from one business unit can gain insights from another business unit without having to rely on the human who's presenting that information.
What advice, Sandi, would you have to give to other CIOs or tech leaders looking to integrate AI into their teams and improve collaboration innovation?
Sure. So I would say, first and foremost, position AI as a partner, not a replacement, right? That's really important and something that we've talked quite a bit about. It should be used to help teams feel empowered rather than to feel threatened. An easy first step is thinking about those conversations or information that you share frequently and sometimes ad nauseum. That could be a GPT, right? So that's an easy entry point into using AI and getting out of maybe work that's really tedious. But I provide team members the time and space and resources to actually learn about AI and how it can help. So we have actually carved out time in some areas of our business to allow folks 10% of their week devoted to learning AI. Think about security first, right? Don't let your enthusiasm for AI let your intelligence out the door. So keep an eye on the cyber risks there. But then also I would say think of governance as a close second after security. Having that, at times I have seen it create, reckless, unethical, or just plain really not helpful AI growth. So making sure that there's processes in place to allow people to build those goofy GPTs that are completely useless and help you pick colors in your kitchen, but that we get that off of our space and we do some cleanup afterwards so that we're not just cluttering up the space with unhelpfulness.
There are so many valuable pieces of information from this conversation so far. One standout takeaway from Sandi is the importance of positioning AI as a collaborator, not a replacement. By carving out dedicated time for her team to explore and get comfortable with the technology, she's fostering a culture of natural buy-in and trust, critical for long-term success. Emily, on the other hand, highlighted the necessity of aligning IT solutions with both team needs and investment strategies. She emphasized that while technological advancements are exciting, governance and security cannot take a backseat. Next, we'll explore how IT leaders can simplify the transitions to these collaborative tools, making their adoption seamless. Do you have any final thoughts on how you see AI shaping collaboration in IT and R&D over the next 2 to 5 or 10 years?
Sure. I see AI shifting it from a process-driven to more of an insight-driven. So making that shift over the next few years. In IT, AI will enhance proactive problem solving through a lot more predictive analytics. And in R&D, I think it's really going to excel our innovation by analyzing all those vast data sets and proposing connections that the human might miss. Additionally, I see more autonomous work environments in our future where we've trained our AI and paired it with automation to iterate, make decisions, and take actions, almost replicating an expanded workforce in some cases.
Emily, I'm curious from your perspective, how has the practices that you've been working with reshaped the way teams collaborate?
I mean, certainly some of the insights that Sandi shared from the Promega journey definitely resonate. And what's happening is, obviously, we've built up a structure of what we call areas of practice, analytics and AI, application modernization and cloud technologies, cybersecurity, of course, digital infrastructure, digital workplace are sort of the primary pillars. And what's happening is all of these technologies work their best when all of those things are working together. The reality of it is our security team has become a wrapper around all of these practices. It has to understand its context across all of these different parts of our business. The data strategy as a feeder into the AI strategy and what governance you're putting around your data strategy. When we talk about digital workplace, it's interesting because a lot of people think about the end user technology. It's been a part of our business that I think people think of as more tactical and less strategic. But of course, when you think about the digital workplace, it's about how employees are connecting to data. So understanding that how you connect an individual to these environments is going to help you ensure that you're building the right governance around it in terms of what they can access and what they can contribute to. And then again, that ties back to our cyber team, our identity and access management team, and what's going on over there. So what we've seen is this real lean into all of these things needing to be able to work together and have situational awareness of each other and how they're impacting that flow. So it's not a simple thing. I think it does provide a certain amount of complexity, but again, the tool set that we're dealing with right now and the topic of AI has given us something to really get everyone sort of with a joint focus on understand your role for a customer that's going down this path and understanding what they need to be considering as they think about how to launch these projects into their environment. So far ahead of where so many customers are, but now we're starting to see more and more of our sort of large commercial and smaller enterprise customers start down this journey. The learnings and the things that you're sharing and the things that we've gotten to learn with our customers on this journey that are ahead of the game are helping us get our customers sort of started down the right path. And just, again, most of our customers have a lot of the ingredients that they need. It's just about figuring out how to structure things in a way that allows it to move forward safely and in a productive way.
It's really interesting to think of the arc of technology over the last 25, 30 years, right? Used to be you need a webmaster that did everything. And well, like you're saying, Emily, there became very specialized disciplines that separated things out. But in many ways, AI and a lot of where technology is going now is sort of bringing all of us back together to collab. And it's even more important now to be collaborating together. Are there any specific shifts, Emily, that you found most impactful over the last several years?
The concept of working with large language models is transformative. We're able to connect to technology and understand technology in a way that makes sense to us across the board. I think the piece or the learning from that is, what does that mean? It means that there are going to be different models that are used for different reasons. Actually, the way that Sandi described it was so powerful when you think of it, GPTs for different purposes. Obviously, we're recording this in the week of DeepSeek sort of creating all of this upheaval within the markets in North America. And part of it is understanding and sort of gaining a broader understanding across just the population of what does that mean? What is that piece of technology? Does it take away everything else that's been built over time up until this point? Absolutely not. Actually, in fact, it doesn't exist without all the innovation that happened before it. It's sort of building upon innovation. And what it also is about us as a population coming to the understanding of there are going to be different levels of quality of these kinds of tools and different purposes for which you use them. For the things that Sandi is talking about in terms of what her IT team needs to do to respond to an incident, or what their regulatory team is going to need in terms of establishing compliance around a particular project that they need to be launching, those are all going to require a lot more sophistication and sort of domain-specific features built into it. So I think it's just understanding that piece of it we're kind of building new muscles, new understanding. It is transformative, but also there is so much to be learned in this space. It is like we're learning a whole new language.
It's powerful. It's amazing. But like you said, right, it's new muscles, new challenges that we now face. Emily, I'm curious, what are some of the biggest challenges that you've seen organizations face when they're integrating edge, core, cloud into a collaborative IT strategy, right? Making it a richer environment to be more productive across all these different disciplines.
Mm-hmm. There are a few things that become those initial challenges, knowing where to start, because there's a lot of competing priorities and all of them are important. So understanding where to start is a big challenge. And I think the voices in the room and the competing priorities of what's most important at any given time. And I always try and encourage customers to start by getting a baseline understanding of where you're at today. I think that was why I really appreciated what Sandi shared about the approach that Promega took in terms of feeding information from different parts of their business to be able to create almost a strategic GPT kind of model so that they could be able to have an overall strategy and then dive into some of the tactical elements that would support that strategy or inform that strategy. And that's not an easy thing to do. But if you can get the right group of people together to try and get that baseline understanding together, that really does help you understand how to move forward. The other thing is, I think on the journey towards AI technologies, it doesn't have to be a huge, massive, investment, or it doesn't have to be a one-off. There can be smaller things in different parts of your business where you can start to build some expertise. So you can build out those centers of excellence. And as you build some strength and as you gain some knowledge and understanding of what this means for your business, then you start to get to the point that Promega is at where they're pulling together office hours, where they're collaborating on these things, and you can create some projects. I guess the most important thing is, if that is the method that our customers are going, I strongly encourage them to create that culture of collaboration off the hop. We do these things and we share, and we're transparent about what's working and what's not, and when we fell on our faces. And that kind of sharing is really critical to being able to work together on it, because what one team is going to do is going to impact another team. So that piece of what the network team decides on one hand is definitely going to impact the security team. And so there needs to be an awareness. What you're doing in terms of the application stack and what's happening in the cloud versus what's happening on-prem, those things are going to have an impact on each other. So creating that culture of collaboration is critical to being able to figure out how to move forward and where to spend the time on the next steps of innovation.
Working with other people is difficult. And I think I love Sandi's story of how essentially, if I could paraphrase, maybe I'm getting this wrong, but technology helps better inform people, right? Data is power, data is knowledge, data informs decisions. Having a model that can democratize the way people interact and understand data is helpful. And it can also facilitate the way people communicate with each other and break down barriers, smooth language out, help people to speak, a tech person to speak science and a science person to speak tech. In your experience, Emily, how has cloud platforms and hybrid IT solutions amplified or complicated collaboration amongst professionals? How have you seen our clients maximize benefits while minimizing those challenges? I mean, I think we've hit on this already in many ways.
One of the biggest benefits is some flexibility to be able to do the things you need to get done. Being able to have access to some of our great cloud partnerships means that customers there's no barrier to entry from do we have the technology on our floor? Now, there are always things that they have to consider in terms of what the guardrails are, what the type of data that they're processing is, what the type of application is touching, and what they need to factor in from a compliance standpoint. And then the piece is having a little bit of flexibility in terms of being able to have really great on-prem environments as well. So that mix is really valuable to customers, I think. We really strongly believe in having some flexibility and building your organization and your technology strategy in such a way that you can be flexible and adapt to changes. The constant is change. You will always have to adapt to new information, new challenges. And as part of that, having kind of a robust cloud and on-prem strategy, I think, is a really critical success factor. And I think one thing I would add in, sometimes it's about the phase you're in your business. Are you just starting something up? Are you starting a new project? Does it make sense for you to build it out in a way that is allowing you to kind of see what this is going to become before you invest in, core infrastructure on-prem? So, I think just helping customers balance that is the place we see a lot of benefits.
I love how you said that, right? It's an environment that leans into adaptation. And as things continue to change, the way through that productively is through collaboration and over communication.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I'll say this is
Priorities.
probably like the least sexy part of it, but the reality is our customers also have to address their funding models and understand how this impacts the financial health of their businesses. So making the right investments in the right way. Does it make sense for something to be a capital expenditure? Is there a source of funding if you're doing research? Is there a source of funding that requires you to do it in a certain way or structure it financially in a certain way? And being able to think about how you can consume these technologies in different ways, not just in terms of what the actual technology consumption strategy is and how you're going to operate that technology, but also how you are financially going to consume that technology.
Right. And technology is continuing to evolve. Emily, are there any emerging technology or trends in hybrid IT that you see are game changers for how teams are collaborating and how leaders should prepare for these advancements and changes?
So there are thousands of them. One thing we haven't really talked about, and I think it's so core to success in AI, are how things are evolving in the observability space from a tech stack standpoint, in terms of just even understanding how applications are running, how they're performing, where they're sourcing information, and being able to dig in and have a bit of an audit trail on how that is working. I think we've seen a ton of innovation in that space and our partner ecosystem. It's an area that I'm super excited about. And it plays in doing what we need to do with AI in a way that is safe. I think also it's really a very helpful tool in terms of being able to support operating AI at scale. Your IT operations team, your cloud ops team, your FinOps team, there is a lot of new challenges coming at them, and having great technology and the innovations that are coming in the observability space helps them do their job more effectively. It's, as Sandi was saying, sort of a partner to the innovation that we're trying to drive at a corporate level. You know, you need those partner tools. And by the way, most of those observability tools have a ton of AI embedded into them. And again, it's just a partner to the humans to make better decisions.
It is that partner, that AI, as an agent or an assist, that is reading the logs at scale and has access to the data of historical patterns and can flag things that normally a human would need to see, right? Or find things in dashboards across different systems. So this question is to the two of you. Both of you are leaders. How do you see leadership shaping a culture that not only embraces cloud and AI and infrastructure as tools for collaboration, but at the same time also fosters collaboration as a core value within the organization?
So I really see leadership needing to lead by example, really embracing the tools themselves while promoting transparency and shared goals around them. So at Promega, we focus on fostering psychological safety, where team members feel encouraged to explore new technologies and share their ideas, but also be vulnerable. Our leaders have embraced this new technology in all aspects of our enterprise, and we talk about it frequently. And we provide the opportunities for teams to learn from each other around new emerging technologies. It's truly becoming part of who we are as Promega.
That's so refreshing to hear.
Mm-hmm. I love that. As we are seeing the rise of artificial intelligence, I think one of the best things that we can do as leaders is just celebrate human intelligence as a partner to it, because that's really where our value is. And these tools are incredible and they're incredibly powerful. They're also not nearly as powerful as the humans that get to leverage them. So, I think just being real is really powerful as a leader, being very authentically yourself and acknowledging what your strengths are, acknowledging the strengths of your teammates and what they're bringing to the table and how you're relying on them to help you as a team be better. I think that as we collaborate and learn from each other, that piece about being vulnerable, Sandi, that you mentioned, I think it's critical. We've had some fun conversations lately about emotional intelligence and whether or not it's sort of a squishy word or concept. And I was like, there's so much about that word that I think people react to. But at the end of the day, as leaders, we have to recognize that the connection between people and that situational awareness is a uniquely human trait and has so much value. And as leaders, if we can celebrate that, as a CIO, you have your area of domain expertise, and you also bring your particular style and your particular culture to it. And that you might be talking to, your director of technology who's bringing a different lens to it, and that has value. And that as a team, your ability to connect the dots of, this person wants to communicate in this way and they want to share in this way. And this person is always willing to get out there and try a new thing and fall on their face, and they don't worry about it. Where this other person wants to do things perfectly the first time. And so they may not be my first mover here. And maybe what I can do is encourage that person to be a part of the team and provide feedback or suggestions to the other person who's willing to be that first mover. And, I think that's the piece that as leaders, if we can do those things and foster that kind of culture on our teams, we're going to, help. I think it's going to be more fun. And it is more fun when we get to be ourselves and bring our whole selves to work. But also, I think we're going to get better outcomes because of it. So, yeah, look for all those differences on your team and celebrate them is what I would throw out there.
Yeah, the human part of work is something that's not going away. And as you said, it's absolutely crucial. This isn't a replacement. It is an accelerator for us to be more human, to be more creative, to be more innovative. But as I'm sure many people know, in a human relationship, as we work with others and partner, trust is absolutely crucial for effective collaboration. I'm curious, how do the two of you build trust amongst your teams, especially when AI and other tech is being introduced into workflows?
For me, it's all about building trust and starting with the transparency. So transparency is a big deal to me around communication, around explaining not just how technology works, but also why we're using it, what safeguards are in place. We also involve teams early, giving them opportunities to experiment with the tools, provide feedback, and by showing how AI enhances work without replacing expertise. We really foster that confidence in folks and that excitement instead of fear.
How did you phrase that for us?
Showing how AI enhances their work without replacing their expertise.
I love that.
Fostering confidence and excitement instead of fear.
And in my own experience, I do feel as if AI has helped me be more myself in certain situations than I was previously. Gets me out of my head. It gets me over the hump when trying to be creative.
At times will help take away my bias. I'll start running down the road of, it starts filtering through my brain and I start applying all of my history to a situation. And then I work with the AI and it doesn't have my history. So it's just pumping out facts. And it really helps me like, oh yeah, that's right. We don't have to, I'll always think about that technology in that way because of your past experience.
I love that. Yeah. And I think in terms of building trust across my teams, with my peers, with my direct reports, I do think about it in terms of giving people permission to not always know off the top of their head what the next right step is, to have permission to explore things. I think that's really critical. I agree with Sandi, and it's a big tenet of mine to provide some transparency, and not just transparency in terms of what's happening right now, but also where we see things going. And then providing the context as well to say, we believe this is where it's going, but that's going to evolve as new information comes to light. So helping create comfort around the fact that things are going to change and evolve over time. I think, if we go back 5-6 years ago into what people's careers looked like, there was sort of more of a steady state of growth, and, you were going to go from this role to this role, and there was going to be a progression. And I think people had an idea of what progression looked like in terms of being a part of a successful team and on a successful organization and within a successful company or organization that you work in. That's not what success looks like anymore. That's not what the evolution of a career looks like anymore. So creating trust is also part of having a conversation about what the career trajectory would have looked like 5 years ago looks quite different now, because what's happening is at different points in your career, you are becoming a generalist and then an expert, and then a generalist and an expert. And sometimes in different domains that are associated with each other. I talked about one of the most exciting things being what's going on in advancements in observability. That used to be a part of networking technology, and sometimes it was a part of cybersecurity technology, and sometimes it was a part of application modernization and what was going on in that space. The reality of it is it will evolve, and it'll maybe even find its own niche at some point. And that's okay. And if you were leading cyber in one sense as a part of your organization, and then you end up off on this observability track, and then you become more of a generalist across a bunch of different domains, and then you end up leaning back into a smaller subset of something, that's actually a great way to progress. And I think when we think about our teams and just understanding what our role is, it's not necessarily about the level of the title. I think the question is, how are you progressing and adding value within your organization? And that is going to be a lot more dynamic over the next 5 years than it was over the past 5 years. And I think when I think about trust, I think about people feeling safe. And that's, I think, an important component of safety, just being transparent and helping people understand that dynamic looks a lot different now than it did prior.
100%. I like to think about it that, and Emily, we've talked about this together, right? That each individual person has a superpower or superpowers, and they bring those to the table. And it does include past experiences, and all those things together inform what comes next. It informs the next job, the next role, the next challenge, and how you face it, and how you handle it, and how you grow into what that is on the trajectory of your career.
I know we only have a couple minutes left, but Sandi, you shared the leveraging the tools to kind of challenge your own assumptions about things and take away the lens of your own history and get a different perspective on it. I think that's a huge, powerful tool in fostering trust, is not just that you're willing to do it, but that you're willing to talk about it.
Right. And of course, there's the flip side to that, right? You have to watch your models and make sure they're not hallucinating and spewing crazy things. But even that can really help with creativity, right? And we've been able to look at some of the things that come out of it and say, okay, that's crazy, but what if?
As we close this conversation down, I'm curious, for leaders that are just beginning this journey, what would you say is the single most important piece of advice that you could offer up to them for success?
So from my perspective, it really is investing in your people and providing the training and creating the opportunities for collaboration between IT and other teams to ensure that the technology adoption is meaningful and that it's aligned with the organizational goals. One thing that I have observed in working with other companies is if you're not giving folks chance to learn the technology, they become more of those resistors that you were talking about, Emily, and not the folks who are happy to live on the bleeding edge. The folks on the bleeding edge really have grasped the technology and love to learn about it, and fostering an environment where you can get more people in that position brings you miles ahead.
I love that. That's incredible. And there's nothing I would really add to that. So I'll just compliment it instead and say the one piece of advice that I would add to what Sandi just shared would be bring a sense of adventure to it. Because one of the incredible things about this technology is not only is it incredibly transformative, we talked about, even when you see the hallucinations, it kind of weirdly unlocks creativity. There's something fun about it. Like there is really and truly something kind of incredible that these things are even possible. And I think, celebrating the fact that this is going to be an adventure, and that means that there are going to be times that we face hardships on the road, but that it is something that we're in together. And again, if you've brought a great team together and you've empowered them to be a part of the transformation, I think there's no question it's going to be rewarding, and we all have to do it anyways because it's happening. There's just no stopping it.
It's all happening all at once, and there's no stopping it.
100%.
Embrace the ride.
Yes. I feel bad sort of saying this without being able to cite who it was that shared it. I was listening to a keynote and somebody shared that trains look incredibly fast when you're standing on the sideline watching it zoom by. It doesn't feel nearly as fast if you just find a way to get on the train. So there is a certain amount of like, gotta take a deep breath and hop on.
I will use that.
Thank you for joining me today. And I've enjoyed this train ride with the two of you.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you, Jonathan.
What an incredible conversation with two savants of this space. To close out this episode, I feel compelled to quote Sandi directly. When it comes to collaborating with AI, it's about showing how AI enhances an individual's work without replacing their expertise. You must, above all else, foster confidence and excitement instead of fear. Wise words from IT leaders navigating these changes. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Edge of IT. For more information, visit our website at convergetp.com, and don't forget to subscribe to Edge of IT on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.